three things that I want to stop seeing, three types of comments. Number one, that this is about the haves and the have-nots. I've heard that phrase way too many times, and I want to put a stop to it, so I'll get to that in a second. Then we oftentimes hear that, things have changed since the early years. Things used to be so much more simple. I miss it when things were simpler, and now it feels complicated, and now it feels so big and expansive and Hollywood and all that kind of stuff. So I'll address that as well. And then the one that I often hearing is, they're starting to do this for the money and for the fame. The fame's gotten to their head. The money's gotten to their head. They're just trying to make more money. These decisions are all about the money, yada, yada. No more of that. So we'll start with the haves and the have-nots. There are some people who can't buy a t-shirt from the gift store. Should we decide to just give t-shirts away because we don't want to have haves and have-nots? Are we favoring the ones who can get a t-shirt and I hear that often. I'm like, they're getting special favor, or people who can, people who have money, the people who can afford it. They're the ones who get the special favors from the chosen. People who are able to buy tickets to go to the theater to see the seasons early. If you're someone who can't do that, are we supposed to deny that opportunity to those who do want to do that, who do want to see it on the big screen? Should they not be allowed to? Should we just deny them that opportunity because you're not able to? Should we deny more ways to make a living for the actors of our show? So the actors actually are able to get more money from theatrical releases or from events like this because the actors on our show, believe it or not, compared to other shows, and especially compared to shows that are 6 seasons in, are actually quite underpaid. Now, underpaid is a relative term, of course. They're getting paid for their work, obviously, and we believe they're getting paid well. But when you've put 5-6 seasons into a show, and a show like ours that is broadcast all over the world, relative to other shows that have big studios and big networks and big streaming platforms that are financing them, as an independent project, all of us, including myself, are actually, compared to what they would normally get on a show similar to this that's been going this long, would be getting significantly more elsewhere. And so we're also looking for ways for them to make a living, because you got to remember, when you're an actor, you're not only making a living for the time that you're doing the project that you're on, but also long term. You've got to make a living for your family for a long time. And so these opportunities are ways that we can do that because the show itself, because the show is free, and I'll get to that in a second, kind of limits how much we're able to monetize. And we're happy to do that. And that's the decision that we made. And that's actually one of the reasons why the show is so big and popular, is because we made it free. But that has caused us to have some limitations personally. And so some of these opportunities, like theatrical releases or Chosen Con or other events that we do, are opportunities for them to make a living. And so to deny that because some people can't afford to participate in it, I think is not only a reflection of what I would consider to be an unholy jealousy and envy, but I also think, and I think it's in many ways selfish to think, well, because I can't participate, then I think no one else can. But it's also just not an accurate way to look at things. And so every time I see that phrase, this is the haves and the have-nots, I think it's inappropriate. I think it needs to stop. And when you're just looking at Chosen Con, should we just make Chosen Con free? Obviously, we can't do that. Obviously, there's going to be a cost of entry to do something like this and to attend something like this. And so I understand genuinely that there are some who can't do it. And if you're one of those people, I'm sad. I wish that we could provide everything for everybody, but we just can't. And I just hope that you can understand that, and hope that you can also understand that this have and have-nots thing is a wrong way to look at it. The second thing that I often hear is things have changed. Things feel different. Things used to be simpler. I don't like how things feel now. Well, you are right about that. Things have changed. First of all, back when things were quote unquote simpler and we had far fewer resources than we do now, a lot of us were miserable and significantly underpaid, couldn't make a living doing this. The amount of work that went into trying to build this thing and trying to build this from scratch and to do a show on a very, very limited budget was very challenging. And to build our gifts store from scratch, at the time, gifts used to take weeks to arrive. People were always complaining about how long things took. And so they just went to Amazon to get stuff. And oftentimes didn't buy our stuff. The show has grown significantly since then and has the audience. And so we have to find more ways to get this to more people. Some people who say things used to be simpler, I kind of go, well, would you prefer we stay on a little app that the majority of the world isn't going to get? I mean, shouldn't we be excited that more people have access to this show and are able to watch it on multiple platforms? Back when we were small and much smaller, it was very, very difficult. And it was not only difficult for us, it was difficult for a lot of you. I remember you had problems and challenges getting your friends and family to watch the show because it was like, well, an app that I haven't heard of, and would I have to download something new, and it's not as high quality and high functioning as some of the normal apps that I watch my shows on, like, whether it's Amazon or Netflix or whatever. And we had, this little app that was we were building from scratch, and it's because it's smaller and it's just not going to be quite as robust as some of these other platforms are. And so, yes, things have changed, but I would argue that for the most part, at least, things have changed significantly for the better. Now, yes, you have to wait sometimes. If you are wanting to see it free, you might have to wait a little longer than you used to. But I'll get to that a little bit more I'll get to that in a little bit, but we are still doing live streams. We're still on social media, expanding our social media, still getting content out to you every single day, multiple posts a day. We still give away tons of it. The show is still free, and we are still underpricing things compared to the industry, including our gifts, including tickets for a lot of these things. So we are still the same company that we've always been. We just are on a bigger platform and on a bigger scale, yes, but we are still trying to match that, meaning we are still trying to bring on as many people as we can to make it as easy as possible. We're trying to respond to as many comments as we can on social media, and we are building social media teams and infrastructures in other countries that we're in an attempt to kind of replicate what we've done here in the States. And so that takes a lot, but it's also making it easier to watch for millions, tens of millions of people all over the world. Now, one last thing that I want to say, I'm just looking at my notes here. I want to make sure I cover everything. The concept of, they're in it for the money. They're in it for the fame, or they're not, it's gotten to their heads, and they're just trying to make more money. So just to remind you, the show is free. The show is still free. And do you know how long it's going to be free? Forever. Decades, at least until Jesus comes. And do you know how long it's not available free? Like a few months. When a new season comes out and it starts in theaters and then it goes to Prime or it goes to a streaming platform that you might have to get a subscription for, that's usually a few months, sometimes half of a year. And then once it's no longer, I'm using poor wording, but once that half a year or so is up, it's free forever. And you know how much money 5 and 2 Studios has sacrificed and how much money we have denied by that decision to keep the show free? Tens of millions of dollars. And in the long term, hundreds of millions of dollars. The fact that the show will always be available free keeps us from being able to give it to these platforms exclusively. And that's what platforms are paying for. So when a platform goes and they purchase the rights or the license fees to a show, the reason that they're going to spend a lot of money for that is that it's exclusive to that platform, and it's going to get a bunch of people to come to it. And we've said to these platforms, after a few months, the show will be available free in the chosen app all over the world in every country forever. And that has lowered the value of the show, meaning what it's worth to potential platforms and licensees, by tens of millions of dollars in the short term and hundreds of millions of dollars in the long term. And so I know for you might be thinking, oh my goodness, well and I'm not saying this even mockingly, but I have to wait a few months before I can see it for free. Oh, well, that's just them doing a money grab. It's the opposite. We can't sustain ourselves by not allowing some of these opportunities to allow the show to be licensed by other broadcasters and by other streaming platforms, but by telling them up front that there's going to be a certain point after a couple months where it's going to be available for free forever. That costs us a lot of money. So as for the fame, I can't speak to that. I don't really care about that stuff, but just please stop making comments and stop allowing for comments from people who are saying, oh, they're just doing this for the money and the fame. Back when we started the show, I had no idea that it was going to become like this. I had no idea if it was ever going to be successful. I didn't do it for that purpose. That's the kind of stuff I'm not motivated by. It has come, obviously. And that's a great thing because it's given us the opportunity to do more and to get the Bible out to more people. More people today are seeing The Chosen for free than at any time. And because of that, more people today are reading the Bible than ever before. That's a great thing. And more people today with the show are able to access it in their own language than ever before. And so when you say, well, I liked it back when things were simpler, not as many people were watching, not as many people were able to access it, and yes, not as many people were able to access it for free in their own language. What's been happening with the show is extraordinary, and the growth of the show is unprecedented and awesome, and people's lives are being changed because of it. All right, so I love you. Let's move forward together. We're going to continue to try to be as much as we can possibly be generous and giving as much as we can away. But there will be times when we just can't, and there's going to be times when we have to sustain ourselves as a company, and I hope that you can understand that.